So, I let the dust settle on the Worldwide Download Celebration Part 1 because I didn't want to jump the gun on talking about something that I thought was a thing of the past, Dokkan Battle's Extreme Category Bias. And you might be thinking to yourself, but Broly's really strong, Team Turles EZA complements the teams he wants to be run on, or in this case, Team, because he's basically just a movie boss's floater. We got Majin Buu from the Golden Week celebration, Tech Super Saiyan Vegeta from the Saiyan Day celebration, and Super Broly from the start of the year has been in or hovered the top 10 units in his class all year. That's without listing Cell Max, who until recently was arguably the second best character in the entire game, and that's a great point to segue into the topic of this video. You see, Cell Max is an amazing unit, even by super standards. His issue, if he really has one, is that he's restricted. And the point has been made by many people in the community that his restrictions don't matter that much because he provides incredibly dominant feedback when upheld. Sure, no one's going to call Cell Max flawed, restricted, or otherwise, but it's worth pointing out. With Cell Max catered to, your units make him a well-oiled machine, and that's always the thing about villains in Dokkan. If you jump through enough hoops with your team building, the unit you actually want to showcase becomes powerful. Let's see how this changes on the super side. And you know what? For the sake of being fair, let's not even look at a character from this year. Let's look at the queen of Dokkan Battle herself, LR Bulma. She activates her entrance animation upon entry, 3 key, guards all attacks for 7 turns, 177% stats, plus key 4, randomly changes key spheres of a certain type, strength excluded, to rainbow key spheres. Damage received 7% at start of each turn up to 77%, plus an additional attack and defense 17% per key sphere obtained, plus an additional attack 77% with 3 or more key spheres obtained. All allies key 3 and attack and defense 37% self-excluded for 2 turns with 5 or more key spheres obtained, and launches an additional super attack with 7 or more key spheres obtained. Pop quiz for you, I'll put some time on the board. Can you point to where the Queen of Dokkan needs anyone else to regulate her abilities? Can you point to where she needs a Kid Goku or Kid Krillin to activate any of her passive? A Master Roshi, a Planetary Destruction, a Terrifying Conqueror? No, you fucking can't. Is this character maybe a super hype Saiyan? No, she's not. Everyone likes Bulma, but this isn't like hype. She's just really good for no reason. And not only that, she's really good as a character who is the part 2 to a meaningful celebration, but certainly not a anniversary or worldwide download level celebration. As well, she was so good that she went on other teams on a 150% when it came to the blue duo, because her support would just make it up for the entire rotation and nothing was killing her anyway. This character was obscene. I sort of had an epiphany while using the new Broly. You see, there was a lot of discourse about whether or not it would actually be positive for villains if Dokkan got 2 Brolys this celebration. I could see the argument in either direction, and I think ultimately characters spread evenly to provide the maximum amount of options is always better than doubling or tripling down on the same character flat out. That said, the first Broly we've got in this celebration seems pretty good. Top 4 for sure, but without help, you couldn't even have a chance at arguing him as top 3. What this usually means is, at least in a gacha game, he's only going to go down from here, especially since he's a villain. Maybe part 2 will make this video inert, but for now, let's move on to why this thought came to mind in the first place. Goku, Gohan, and Trunks break Dokkan's power creep rules. Remember how I made that earlier point about how extreme units always seem to need you to build them up rather than building the units around them up? Which makes sense thematically, you know, they're the villains, they're the big bad bosses, so to speak. They should be the ones being supported by their underlings. Nah. All that shit is sweet until you start realizing that you actually need to put 6 characters on a team, including the friend leader. Meanwhile, you can double up on the most obtusely powerful support buff in the current meta, providing enough support on a 2 turn of rotations to keep now aged out frauds like LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the AGL Super Saiyan duo, and the previous year's INT SSJ trio lead. Enough defensive power to actually live normals in the current meta. You see, the overarching issue with the extreme units in Dokkan Battle isn't that they're extreme units, it's that there's this philosophy that seems really strict around them. This Goku, Gohan, and Trunks unit functionally outdamages Broly. They tank on his level. They make everyone on the team tank on his level. So why couldn't Broly provide these same buffs to his team, but make it movie bosses and planetary destruction? If you needed to make it thematic, couldn't you say that Broly's overflowing ki is such that it just invigorates everyone around him? For whatever reason, instead of reviving villains who are so often given the short end of the stick, they just gave super units another obese whale of a support unit that also can't die. But I do like to look on the bright side when it comes to Dokkan, even when it seems like I'm punching down at bad units. LR Tech Broly is super fun to use, and I wouldn't really want him replaced with another character. He's a great foundation and doesn't have any restrictions himself to worry about. Villains need more slot 1 sitting tanks, and this could be the start of an amazing part 2 partner that opens up the team completely with a great Dokkan Fest lead. Like a lot of others, I do also want another big, damaging Broly that's super cool and puts up all the big numbers and nukes and yada yada, but if I'm being honest, I want part 2 Broly to be a support so bad. I want him to hit planetary destruction, I want him to hit extreme units, I want him to go on any team. Please, just give villains one equal support with how good this Miracle Punch trio is. Last but not least, if you feel like this worldwide is a bit slow, it's probably because, like me, you pulled for Broly, you're a fan of the character, and you expected Easy A's to trickle in and be powerful. Issue is, Int Easy A Broly is just okay. By 2024 standards, do not get it twisted, he is a bad Easy A. You can cape from all you want, but if you're comparing him flatly to the Easy A's we've gotten this year, as well as the quality of Easy A that AGL Zumasu was last year, he is not great. But on his own, he's just okay. A 6 or 7 out of 10. If you like this video, subscribe to join the club, and tell me how you're feeling about the worldwide download celebration so far. We've still got a possible Tech LR Easy A Broly coming, but I do want to tell people, it seems obvious until it isn't. Remember that we're all screaming that it's Tech Broly's time to Easy A, but this is Dokkan we're talking about, and they could just as easily not. I saw some people wondering why I didn't mention LR SSJ 4 from the last video on the list of disappointing units for that year, and if I'm honest, it's because he was really dominant for the fight he was designed for, and even in Merge Zamasu, his issue was that he kind of just couldn't turn into his super form and then God mode on it, but if we're being super real, he could stand in slot 1 and tank that shit. Ultimately, I think that Super Saiyan 4 Goku's issue is that he was designed for a meta that they already knew was on the way out and suffered the consequences, but the Gohan, Goku, and Trunks trio have brought him back. He can now do Goku and Frieza Red Zone on JP, so I don't know. It just felt like to me that even though Super Saiyan 4 Goku aged out super quickly, his ability to do what he wants to do hovers around, whereas the blues are a terrible transform condition, and they die, and they have the Super Saiyan 4 Goku issue of can only be in one slot. In retrospect, I should have put him on there. I just kind of forgot. This is all bullshit. But hey man, that's why you shouldn't take this YouTube game too seriously. We all gonna make it, by the way. Peace.